You are Locked On Bulls Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Chicago on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in to the Locked On Bulls Postcast here on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. Joe George, host of the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel, here with you for tonight's Bulls recap as the Bulls win 114-110 over the San Antonio Spurs. The Bulls complete their fourth 18 or more point comeback of the season. They outscore the Spurs 32-15 in the fourth quarter to get this win. Look, this game was wild. From the beginning of the game, where Vooch is atrocious. They're scared to attack Victor Wembanyama. Chris Paul turns back the clock. In this game, there are problems. So we'll talk about them a little bit. Kind of just fascinated as a basketball fan of what the San Antonio Spurs are. And then we have to talk about Vooch, how he responded in the second half from his struggling first half. Zach LaVine going off tonight, being the player you need him to be. Coby White as well. Clutch moments in the fourth quarter from Coby White. But that was a fun basketball game. Look, the Spurs they're 18-18 now on the season. They are one of the more intriguing teams at this point in the NBA because you have the future of the NBA even more evident by what we saw tonight. I haven't had like a ton of time to watch Victor Wembanyama games, and I have FOMO watching them because this guy is electric. I mean, from the first block shot of the game to the threes that he's hitting, the way he impacts a basketball game, his athleticism, his size, it's so different than anything we've ever seen in the NBA. It's fascinating just to see like what the Spurs are turning into. But that's why this is a good win for the Bulls. To be down 18 points or 19 points in this game, to complete the comeback and get the win in the fourth quarter. Look, most of this game, like they get down early, they're trying. Like they're getting close. Like they're getting these leads down to 8 points, 7 points. And they're just not able to get over the hump. Because every time it felt like they got close, Victor Wembanyama or Chris Paul would answer. And that's really all the Spurs had going for them tonight. Kind of interesting, too, how like in the fourth quarter with only like 6 or 7 minutes left to go in the game, Victor Wembanyama's not on the court. A little surprised by that. Maybe like they're trying to limit his minutes and his wear and tear. You know, he played like 35 minutes in this game. But look, the Bulls were just, they kept battling, but they couldn't close it there until the fourth quarter in this game. Look, it starts off as pretty much as poor as it can go. It's 7-2 right out the gate. The Spurs are running away with this thing very early on. Really, the only offense you have early on in this game is Patrick Williams. He hits his first 2 threes, so he continues to shoot the ball really well. But like I said, Vooch starts tonight 1 for 9. 1 for 9 from the field. It was a disastrous performance in the first half from Nikola Vucevic. In the first quarter, sorry. That's the first quarter he's 1 for 9. And the Bulls are down 29-20 at the end of the first. All of a sudden, it's 37-22 in the second quarter. Champagnie, one of my least favorite play of the night. He is open at the top of the arc. Patrick Williams, it's kind of his guy to close him out. But they're just staring at Champagnie. I think that's how you say his name. And then finally, Patrick Williams chases out to go get him, but he hits the three, puts the Spurs up 37-22. Patrick Williams at least responded with the three there shortly after, made it 39-25. And then that's really when like the chaos I felt like started to unfold for the Bulls. They're not really attacking the basket. You can tell they're scared to go at Victor Wembanyama. I totally get it. He's a monster. He's huge. But they're clearly not going to attack the paint early on in this game. When they do, they're losing the basketball. They're making bad decisions. We see weird plays like the lob from Josh Giddey, I believe it was, which went off the glass. It then led to an open missed three, but then an easy offensive rebound and layup for the Spurs, to which Billy Donovan had to call one of his patented timeouts, which as always feels like comes at the beginning of the quarter, or easy offensive rebound and then a bucket for the Spurs. Victor Wembanyama hit one of the most incredible shots of the night, if not the most incredible, until the very end there, I would say, for the Bulls. The one where the shot clock is expiring, he's got Vooch on him, right on top of him, and he hits a three. And the Spurs are up 65-50 at the half. Zach LaVine's leading the way with 13 points. And then things start to really turn there in the third quarter because the Bulls are outscored, like I said, 29-20 in the first quarter, 36-30 in the second. But things start to move in the Bulls' direction with maybe the best Bulls play of the game, which, as big as Victor Wembanyama is, like he's not going to always be the best against guards. And Zach LaVine broke his ankles, and then hit a step back shot that he was looking for the 3, toe on the line, gets the 2. The Bulls go on a 7-0 run to get it to 12. They expand that to an 11-0 run to get it down to 8. And then that's really when the first time of the night we start to see Chris Paul turn it back a little bit. He starts going to his mid-range shot. He hits a 3, so he hits his 5 straight points for the Spurs, puts him back up 13. A Zach LaVine 3 a little bit later on in the game, 97-90. And then this is where the Bulls finally were able to get over the hump and get this thing done. And that's what this season has been the theme of the Bulls, is that even when they've been down big, there's been 2 types of teams for the Bulls. Is either they get it close and they complete these big comebacks, like I said, their 4th comeback this season of 18 points or more, or it totally collapses on itself. So Zach LaVine gets it to 7 points, 97-90. Coby White, he gets the 3 to get it down to 3 points. The game has a chance to unravel over the next couple possessions when they're down 4. You've got 2 missed breakaway opportunities. Patrick Williams is ripped by Chris Paul, and then the next possession, Josh Giddey, it's blocked. Chris Paul continues to play well. The Bulls then went 3 minutes and 40 seconds during that stretch there, and a little bit longer, obviously, where they don't even score. So they're down 7 points. They haven't scored in nearly 4 minutes. Vooch hits his 3, which he struggled all over the court, not just in the first quarter. He was terrible from the three-point line tonight, took a ton of shots. Clearly, they wanted to pull Victor Wembanyama out of the paint as much as possible. So that was their plan. But that 3 in the corner put the Bulls down 4. LaVine hit a pull-up 3, and then for the first time in the game, with 47 seconds left to go, Coby White hits the scoop shot and gives the Bulls a lead, like I said, for the first time in the game with 47 seconds. And then Coby White threw down a ferocious dunk in this game. I thought Stacey King was going to have a heart attack on the broadcast. A nasty, nasty dunk from Coby White. So the early part of this game where they're not attacking the basket and they're struggling, in the second half, it's like Billy Donovan just shook him a little bit and was just just do it. Just go after him. He's not going to get everything. I mean, Patrick Williams and Modest Buzelis both had dunk attempts that were blocked by Wemby. But that's going to happen, obviously, when you play a guy to this level. Nearly lost it again. Great coach's challenge there from Billy Donovan to where Lonzo Ball didn't foul him. It was a straight-up play. And that was the ball game there, where the Bulls win 114-110. So after 2 really bad performances against the Hornets and the Wizards, this is 2 back-to-back really strong performances from this team. Really 2 kind of complete games in different ways, right? Where the Knicks game was really more back and forth, and they're kind of it's a little bit closer most of the time. This game, you get down big and you take advantage, and you get the comeback over a team that, yes, they're 18-18. On the season now, and you're 17-19, so you're still 2 games below 500 yourself. But the Bulls, I was impressed with this game tonight. They are a fascinating team to have 4 of these comebacks of 18 points or more to start this slow. And this was a little bit different. It's normally, when we talked about this during the Hornets and Wizards postcast shows, where they play down to their competition. This is one of those games where the Bulls are down early. They're not scoring offensively. I really didn't feel like they were playing down to any level with the Spurs because that's a solid basketball team. They were just flat out getting their butts kicked in the first half. I mean, Victor Wembanyama and Chris Paul. Well, Chris Paul really wasn't a problem until the second half, but really Wemby was just kind of having his way. And like I said, Vooch starts the first quarter 1 for 9. He ended up going 10 for 22 on the night, 2 for 9 from the three-point line, but he gets 24 points. And he gets his double-double like he always does. Coby White had a really good performance in this one, 23 points, those big shots there in the fourth quarter. And Zach LaVine, again, continues to have, his best performances as a member of the Bulls, 40 minutes, 35 points, 3 of 6 from the three-point line. So again, we see the Bulls have kind of toned it down a little bit in three-point shooting in this stretch here where they're playing better basketball. You only see one guy take over 6 threes in this game, and it's Nikola Vucevic, and I think that's clearly a plan that they had in mind. But when you have Patrick Williams, Coby White, Zach LaVine all shooting over 50% from the three-point line in a game, or 50% or above in a game like this, it's going to be huge. So kudos to the Bulls for pulling this one out, especially when you have a guy like Josh Giddey who's having a really tough night. Your only starter who has a negative plus-minus on the game, only a -2, but he only has 6 points on 3 of 12 shooting. He obviously, his three-point shot was not going himself, and he felt like every time he went to the rim, Victor Wembanyama or one of these giant Spurs players was there waiting for him. So I give the Bulls credit. This is a good win, 114-110 over the San Antonio Spurs. It was a lot of fun to watch Victor Wembanyama and Chris Paul in this game. They were a problem for the Bulls. So we'll talk about kind of how that happened, why it happened, and really, we saw a clear adjustment there in the fourth quarter, which I think highlights some of the closing stuff that we've been talking about in and around the Josh Giddey situation there at the end of the fourth quarter. We'll get into that next here in the Locked On Bulls postcast on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prizepicks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prizepicks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. If you think LeBron's going to drop 30 points, or maybe Luka's going to get more than 8 assists, Prizepicks gets you your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. Now's the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's absolutely guaranteed. That's code LOCKEDONNBA when you download the app today to get $50 instantly. Prizepicks, run your game. So for the Bulls tonight, obviously, Victor Wembanyama is a huge problem. Going to be a problem for everyone. There's nothing you could do. It didn't matter if you put Patrick Williams or Nikola Vucevic or you put Jalen Smith on him. You're not going to have an answer for Victor Wembanyama. Specifically offensively. Defensively, I think there are things that you can do. Specifically, he is an experienced young player, obviously, with his experience overseas and playing in the Olympics and things like that. But I think the Bulls needed to attack him more, like we saw in the second half there, specifically in the fourth quarter when he was on the court. You just got to go after this guy. Try to get fouls, deal with the consequences of the block shots. He's going to get his. He's going to put up stat lines in his career, whether against the Bulls or some other team, that are going to blow us out of the water. That are going to just be stunning when you look at a box score and see what this kid is fully capable of. And offensively, there's really not much you can do either. That was the biggest takeaway watching them today is I don't think the Bulls did anything wrong, honestly, with Wemby. The only thing potentially I think you can do against this guy, just watching it play out, is just letting him shoot threes. And we saw him hit him. Like I said, that shot he hit against Vooch as the shot clock is running down is one of the toughest shots we will see a player hit in the NBA this season. But he's just so tall, and it doesn't matter that he can just rip his shot whenever he wants at any given moment. So when a guy's that tall and the ball's starting that high and there's nothing you can do, you're kind of limited. So honestly, if I was the Bulls and I guess that's their last game versus the Spurs this season, not like I'm some basketball genius here. I think I'm just letting him shoot threes and trying to just let him take the shots away from his teammates. That might be your best hope against him offensively. And defensively, no matter how you switch it, no matter who's guarding him, you're going to attack him and he's just going to get his. It's just fascinating to see someone move so effortlessly at that size, because it's not I guess it's like Giannis, obviously, in a way, but it's this combo of what we've seen from guys like Giannis and then your absolute biggest guys in the NBA, almost like a Giannis Dwight Howard mashup that can shoot the ball a little bit, might be the best way I would describe Victor Wembanyama. The part of this game where the Bulls nearly lost it there in the fourth quarter, that I think is the biggest frustration with this game tonight, is what was happening with Chris Paul. Now, Chris Paul, as a guy who also has a very weird career. He was obviously an incredible player in New Orleans, and then he gets traded to the Clippers, and he was a great player. I watched him up close and personal in Houston, covering the Rockets when he's here in Houston with James Harden. That ends terribly. He's out of shape. He's cooked. He goes to Oklahoma City, becomes a vegan, and has this career resurgence. His career again starts to fall off. He's not great in Golden State, but then he gets to San Antonio now, and he is just the perfect fit for what they're doing. And I think how that correlates with the Bulls is just when they're building out their roster for the future, and that's what they've tried to do with guys like Vooch, is find the right veteran pieces to make this thing work. And obviously it hasn't worked to the level of success that I think any of us, the front office or anyone, was hoping for. But Chris Paul has just been the perfect fit so far with Victor Wembanyama. The frustrating thing is what was happening on those switches, though, because that's Chris Paul's game. Victor Wembanyama is going to get his no matter what you do offensively. You're not going to stop these generational talents, LeBron, Giannis, even like Pete James Harden, these guys. Like when they want to score, they're going to find a way. And that's the reality of when you play Wemby. What you can't let happen is what we saw happen with Chris Paul, where he is getting rebounds as the smallest guy on the court and no one's boxing him out, where he's getting his mid-range shot whenever he wants. He's hitting open threes in transition. Like he's just the Patrick Williams play, like that's not something you can stop. Besides, I guess Patrick Williams didn't really see Zach LaVine clearly coming down the court on his right side, but that's where we saw again, and I think obviously warranted now at this point as we continue to watch the season, not just the offensive struggles that Josh Giddey was having tonight, but these switches that they were doing. Josh Giddey is a kind of a defensive liability in certain matchups, not every matchup, but tonight he was. And that's why, again, we saw Zach LaVine is the guy. Lonzo Ball is the guy who's got to close this game out for the Bulls because he just gives them their best answer for what the Spurs were trying to do. And it's a short amount of time, and they didn't really go to the pick and roll a ton, but that's part of the reason why is because they know they're not going to have that same success with Zach LaVine out there. So, with Lonzo Ball out there. So maybe the question of what we were talking about the other night, if you missed it, was is there a spot for Lonzo in the starting lineup? Well, if Josh Giddey can't close, maybe he just shouldn't be out there with the starters either. I like Josh Giddey, but I just want more Lonzo. And I think, again, when you're going to this guy in closing situations, he hits his first three of the night. The jump shot still looks good, even though he only goes 1 for 3 on the night. It just still plays at such a different pace and level of defensive intensity that you needed, and that's why Josh Giddey has to come out of the game. And I think, I don't know if that was Giddey, if Chris Paul was Giddey's guy on that offensive rebound we mentioned there, where Spurs were, battling, still had the lead at that point and hadn't, given it up at any point in the entire game so far. So, not to pick on Giddey too much when he had a bad night offensively, but just didn't get enough from him. And when Chris Paul is cooking like this and looking like the Chris Paul of the Los Angeles Clippers days, you kind of have a problem. And I know he's turning back the clock a little bit. And like I said, it's been a really good fit there for him. But they were just letting CP3 do too much of what he wanted really at any given moment in this game. Now, let's get back to the Bulls here. Let's talk about the positives of the three main guys for the Bulls. Because as this team is constructed, as we wait the trade deadline and what could or could not be, the latest rumors, Nikola Vucevic is being looked at by the Golden State Warriors. But as Vooch, LaVine, and Coby White are on this team, those are the three guys that are going to help make this thing continue to go for the Chicago Bulls, as right now, as they are the 10 seed, they are in the play-in tournament, and they continue to battle to get back to 500. So let's talk about those three guys next year on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel and the Locked On Bulls postcast.
From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need to place live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. I've told you guys before, what FanDuel gives you guys is to give you access to all the latest play-by-play, stats, analysis, everything, so you can make an informed bet on the same page where you place your bets. It just gives you a little leg up to make quicker and smarter bets and get that money that FanDuel is trying to give you. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's FanDuel.com. Make the playoff this season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
All right, so Vooch starts off this game 1 for 9 from the field. He's struggling with Wemby. We just spent a whole segment talking about Victor Wembanyama and what he's doing. That block shot to start the game, it is just a struggle bus right away for Vooch. He's getting nothing going. What I appreciate about his game tonight is that he didn't quit. They didn't quit going to him, because that's something we've seen the Bulls do a lot this season, is that really it's been the opposite. Normally, it's when Vooch is going, they abandon going to him, and they stop trying to make him an active part of the offense. They knew that to get the end result that they wanted to in this game, that Nikola Vucevic was going to be going. So he starts off 1 for 9 from the field. He ends up 2 for 9 from the night from the three-point line, but he still gets 24 points. So 1 for 9 turns into 10 for 22 in this game. And really, again, in the fourth quarter, we saw a couple moments where, like, even the one where, like, I mean, Victor Wembanyama's head is basically underneath the hoop when Vooch is, cutting him off and forcing the ball to himself in the paint because of the way he's got him boxed out. He finds a way to get that bucket there in the fourth quarter when Wemby's still on the court. And that's a huge moment, it feels like, as this game is starting to turn, is because you're finally getting Vooch involved in the offense. As you know, you're trying to complete, like I said, they're on a 3-minute and 40-second run at one point in the second half where you can't get anything going offensively, and Zach LaVine finds Vooch in the corner and he hits that three to get the game back down to, I think it was 4 points at that point. So Vooch was coming through when you needed him to. So as bad as the start was, at least they found a way to continue to get him the ball and find a way to get that thing going. Because even the 3-point shooting, like typically we do these shows, we talk about the Bulls, that it's like, taking too many threes, they don't adjust their game ever. And I honestly think when you watch this game tonight, it was such a clear strategy that they were going to pull Victor Wembanyama away from the bucket as much as humanly possible. And that's part of the reason why Vooch was taking 9 threes tonight, only hitting 2 of them. So I'm fine with all of that. So you got what you needed from Vooch. He gets his double-double. He continues his all-star level campaign. I would be kind of bummed at this point, like if he's not an all-star. I know they do it a little bit differently now, like they don't do the whole center thing anymore. But I think just the way he's played this season, honestly, like Zach LaVine and Vooch, if that matters to you, and it matters to some, not to all, about players being an all-star. And ironically, there's a chance that neither of them are Bulls when the all-star game were to take place, I'm guessing, because I think the all-star game is after the trade deadline. But I would advocate for both of them to be all-stars this year. So Zach LaVine, let's talk about Coby White first. Coby White, 9 for 18 from the field, 3 for 6 from the 3-point line, 4 assists, 4 steals, 23 points on the night. He also, kind of a sluggish start to the start of the game. He's not super involved in the offense in the first half. Zach LaVine is, I think, the only person in double-digit points, or at least he's got the team high, and 13 points at the end of the first half. But Coby really takes over there in the fourth quarter, continuing to do, again, the stuff that we've talked about recently, where it's like, attack the rim, be more aggressive. He hit one of his transition threes tonight. That was really nice to see again. We're coming off this last performance where, Coby goes scorched earth in front of Derrick Rose on D Rose night against the New York Knicks. Part of my thought process kind of going into this game tonight of I always have things to watch for as a game starts is in my notes. And one of them was, how many threes does Coby White take tonight after having the performance he does against the Knicks? So to only have 6, I think shows a level of maturity and recognition of what he struggled with this year. But to have that performance against the Knicks and then this one tonight to follow up with it kind of feels like we're at the point now where we can think that Coby White, that terrible funk that he had been in since he got hurt, he has finally come out of that. And there is good basketball on the horizon for Coby White more consistently now than what we got for a large stretch of the season. And no matter what happens at the deadline, unless they stun all of us, Coby White will be a member of the Bulls. He will be a member of the Bulls for the foreseeable future. So I don't think there's any chance they trade him, honestly, at the deadline. So performances like we got from him tonight as fans watching the Bulls play, I think was just huge again. So to see him come through in the clutch, to throw it down like he did, to get the Bulls the lead for the first time of the game with 47 seconds left, attacking the paint with Wembanyama on the floor, just really a great moment again from Coby White. So back-to-back really strong performances. And then I'll say it for the, 10th time as we've done these postcast shows. Zach LaVine continues to play his best basketball as a member of the Chicago Bulls. Just an all-around, really, really good game from him. 13 to 25 from the field, 3 for 6 from the 3-point line, 6 to 7 from the free throw line. He gets 10 rebounds himself, and he has 35 points, ends up as a plus 13 in the plus-minus tonight for the Bulls. When you win by 14, Zach LaVine, that's the difference maker right there. He, again, was just, even as the clutches those couple moments where from Coby, as they're trying to complete this comeback, get this thing back down from 19 to a lead, it's Zach LaVine's play again that is just kind of carrying the Bulls. I actually thought it was interesting how the one possession there late in the fourth, Stacey King and Adam Amin are talking about how, Zach LaVine, he's like driving from like the left side of the 3-point line across the middle. The Spurs are playing pretty good defense. He had just hit a huge three. He passes the ball to Patrick Williams, who bricks a three, but it was the open shot. And they were saying like they want Zach to just attack and finish there. I was fine with the play. Like, it didn't end in a good result, but I just think that continues to be like the level of basketball has been heightened for what Zach LaVine has been doing this season. And honestly, like, when you think about like trade destinations for Zach LaVine and like where these teams are at, honestly, like, I'm kind of curious like what the Spurs would think about Zach LaVine after watching this game. And I'm still like not totally all in on wanting to trade him, just because I don't think the Bulls will ever properly bottom out to be one of the worst teams in the league. And, they're not going to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes unless they get really lucky. They're 10th in the East right now, 11th in the lottery position. So they're in that no man's land, and that's why they need to make moves at the deadline in one way or the other. But as long as he's a member of the Bulls, like, we'll talk about just, focus on LaVine being here. And he continues to just play excellent basketball, and kind of blows my mind that the, trade market, honestly, has not been hotter for him than it has been, up to this point this season. Just the way he's playing, the execution that he's done offensively, defensively, the overall team basketball, and the scoring has just been so excellent for most of this year. I'm surprised that there are teams like the San Antonio Spurs who are not, looking at all the young players they have and saying like, hey, we can move a guy or two for Zach LaVine and put LaVine with Wembanyama and Chris Paul, or not seeing some of these other young teams that, need some extra scoring, a guy that we can go 35 points, in a really effortless night of shooting. So we'll wait and see. Like, the trade deadline's not very far away. We're about a month away from that actually getting here. But this was a good win for the Bulls. Your fourth 18-point or more comeback of the season. I can't believe they've had 4 of these things already. I mean, to have 1 or 2 of them in a season, but to have 2 20-point comebacks, a 19 and an 18-point comeback this season, it's a fascinating basketball team to put yourselves in these giant holes like they have to just keep digging and digging and digging, and then to really in short amount of times, because that's the thing is like, it's not like they're not chipping away, like they're trying to chip away, but then the Spurs would put that lead back up to 12 or 13 points like very easily. And then it's really coming in these quick little bunches where all of a sudden, they're going on 7-0 runs in 47 seconds and expanding that out to an 11-0 run. But then Chris Paul hits his 2 buckets there to put the Spurs up 13, like I said. So just this is who the Bulls are, I guess. Like, the Cardiac Bulls continues to be their nickname for a reason, because they are a, kind of a stressful team to watch. But as long as they're together, for the most part, like, they've been a fun team. If we can have no more performances like the Wizards and the Hornets, at least we can say we all are enjoying Bulls basketball this year, and there is a somewhat entertaining product being placed in front of us, considering what else is going on along the landscape of Chicago sports right now. So thank you for watching today. Appreciate you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on audio on the Locked On Bulls audio feed, which if you're watching, you can find anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever, putting out great content 5 days a week. They are, especially around the trade deadline. They just did a whole podcast, their Monday show, I believe it was, about Vooch potentially being a trade candidate to the Golden State Warriors. So great daily Bulls content coming from the channel. You can find Locked On Bulls on YouTube or Locked On Bulls anywhere you get our audio, and we go live here for 30 minutes after every single Bulls, next season, the Bears, Cubs, and Notre Dame game here. So hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. As always, the Bulls win 114-110 over the Spurs. We will talk to you after their next game. Peace.